You're watching the legal breakdown. So, Glenn, Donald Trump has now come out on Truth Social and claimed that he has almost $500 million in cash for his presidential campaign, and that's why Judge Engoron imposed that judgment for $455 million, because he wanted to wipe out his campaign cash. But at the same time, in court, Donald Trump's lawyers recently told the appellate court that he has no means to pay that $500 million in bonds. So clearly one of them is lying here. So what happens next in this scenario?
So, Brian, what happens next is, in part, Judge Engoron might be in a position to play who's lying here, right? Because just a few days ago, Donald Trump's lawyers filed a motion in court saying Donald Trump doesn't have $500 million to cover the massive money judgment that was entered against him in connection with Attorney General Tish James' civil suit that was brought against Donald Trump for his massive systemic business fraud. And, when his attorneys file a pleading in court, they're supposed to be acting as what we call officers of the court. They're not supposed to put any misrepresentations, anything inaccurate, or any outright lies in a court pleading. Now, I don't know that anybody will accuse Donald Trump's lawyers of setting the standard for accuracy and candor. However, I find it really hard to believe that they would dump a whole bunch of lies into that pleading and then file it with Judge Engoron on matters as consequential as whether Donald Trump has the money or can put up the bond to be able to appeal the verdict in the fraud case without having to pay out, more precisely, without giving Tish James everything she needs to begin seizing his property. So Judge Engoron may end up playing the game of who's lying. Let's talk about that. Donald Trump just posted on Truth Social, I have $500 million. What does that tend to tell me? Donald Trump doesn't have $500 million.
Right.
But, okay, let's indulge him for a minute. Let's assume his lawyers put information in that court filing that was truthful and accurate. Donald Trump does not have the money to cover the $500 million judgment, or kind of cut right to the chase, our client doesn't have $500 million. Further, our client cannot get a bond. He's dealt with all of the insurance companies and sureties and bondsmen that, he can think of. Nobody will put up a bond for him. Nobody will vouch for him. Nobody believes he is a good risk. So then let's assume that's truthful. Let's assume Donald Trump told the truth. Just indulge me on this fiction for a minute. Donald Trump just told the truth on Truth Social that he's got $500 million. Does that mean he has just come in to $500 million because there was somebody who was willing to front him that money, understanding the leverage they would then have over Donald Trump, right? He would be financially beholden to them for $500 million, and he could appeal that massive money judgment. So it could be that Trump's lawyers are telling the truth, that Trump is telling the truth. Then the question becomes, where did the money come from? That is also part of what it looks like Judge Engoron will be looking into, because among other things in his recent order, sort of giving Barbara Jones, the monitor over the Trump financial matters, enhanced powers and abilities. One of the things Judge Engoron said is, listen, I need to know more about what Donald Trump's lawyers just filed a few days ago regarding how he just can't make the bond. He's tried and tried and tried, but he just can't do it, and he doesn't have the assets to put up. So I think we're going to be hearing about all of these matters probably as early as Monday. Why? Because Monday is the drop dead date. That is the day that if Donald Trump doesn't put up the money or put up a bond, Tish James begins seizing his assets.
Well, let's assume that Donald Trump is lying. I don't know what it is, but that just seems like the safe path here. If he is lying and he's posting in public that he has plenty of money to put up, and yet his lawyers are telling the truth that he doesn't, could this post by Donald Trump hurt him in court at all?
It could hurt him more in the court of public opinion than it will actually hurt him in any legal proceeding. Why do I say that? Because let's assume Judge Engoron now holds a hearing on this matter, and he rightfully asks Donald Trump's lawyers, you said he doesn't have the money. He just posted that he does. his lawyers would have to tell, push comes to shove, they would have to accurately represent, Judge, our pleading was correct. And as far as we know, no circumstances have changed that would support our client's assertion that he has this $500 million. He may have expected that he might be getting it based on conversations that he had with somebody, some person, some entity, some foreign government or foreign actor, but we can't represent that he actually has it. Judge Engoron can't, for example, hold Donald Trump in contempt because he lied in the public square. Donald Trump
Right.
does that every day. So,
Yeah.
it probably won't visit him legally, but I don't think it's going to help him in the court of public opinion any more than it's going to help him in court.
Well, how worried are you about the prospect of Donald Trump coming up with the money thanks to some foreign government or foreign entity?
Yeah, I think that is a possibility, a very real possibility. If you're Saudi Arabia, you're some other, country who has been known to, give money to Trump or Trump associated people. Jared Kushner comes to mind, 2 billion from the Saudis. I would think governments like that would enter into sort of a calculation. What's in it for me if I take $500 million, which to the government of Saudi Arabia, the crown prince is nothing, can probably
Nothing
find it.
to potentially own a president of the United States.
Bingo. What kind of leverage does that give me? So I would like to be in a position to know that in the event Donald Trump becomes president again, not going to happen in my opinion, but if he does, then every decision Donald Trump will make, policy decision, he is probably going to enter into the calculation. What might this do for my creditor country, if it's Saudi Arabia, as a hypothetical? Or how might it harm Saudi Arabia or whoever it was that, pulled my butt out of that financial hole when I needed a cool $500 million? So, yeah, that's a president who, at best will have dual loyalties and at worst won't even care about the American people. He'll care more about his own financial circumstances.
To that point, just today, it was approved for Trump's media company, that's the parent company of Truth Social, to merge with a SPAC company called Digital World Acquisition. How does that factor into this? And how might the prospect of foreign governments, for example, like we were just talking about, being able to launder money through that company factor in?
Yeah, so first of all, up front, I am not a corporate, acquisitions and mergers expert. That's not an area of law I would ever choose to practice in. I have tried to read up on this acquisition because at a minimum, it's curious, right? All of a sudden, just literally 48 hours before Donald Trump's $500 million bill is coming due, his company merges, a company that includes Truth Social, and he reportedly may, stand to benefit to the tune of $2 or $3 billion. What curious timing is that? Now, the more I read up on it, this acquisition doesn't mean all of a sudden he has access to $2 or $3 billion of liquid assets. Quite to the contrary, there are rules and laws that say you can't take stocks that now may be publicly traded as a result of this SPAC procedure, acquisition, merger, and just sell them off right away. There are actually some rules and laws against that, but it doesn't mean that if this merger is a real thing and Donald Trump is now, at least in theory, worth another $2 or $3 billion as a result of this merger, this acquisition. It seems to me maybe he could use that as collateral. If somebody was willing to say, "Oh, your spreadsheet just went up. You're now worth another $2 or $3 billion. I will be willing to loan you on really advantageous terms to me, the lender, at the $500,000 you need to stave off Tish James beginning to seize your properties." I mean, that seems to be something that could be in play. We're going to know a lot more about that and all of these other financial matters, I think, in the coming days when Judge Engoron is likely to either maybe hold another hearing or require some more filings, some court pleadings from the parties to figure out, okay, exactly what is going on here.
And to that point, for those watching right now, if you want to follow along with this, we're going to have some major updates coming up within the next couple of days here. So please make sure to subscribe. The links to both of our channels are right here on this screen. I'm Brian Tyler Cohen.
And I'm Glenn Kirshner.
You're watching The Legal Breakdown.